Good evening, everybody. Hopefully we've hit the right buttons and we are live with you with a bit of luck. As always, if you are joining us this evening and you're watching us live at 7 p.m. on a Monday for our Monday night natter, can you please let us know in the comments that you can hear us and that you can see us? Because it's always good to know that we're not talking to ourselves. I know one of these days we're going to hit all of the wrong buttons and just end up sat here, possibly yabbering to ourselves for an hour. So if you're with us and you're here, please let us know and that you can see us. Now, as always, if you are catching up on our YouTube channel at a later date, then please remember that our competition will have ended. So please don't bother entering because I don't want you to get your hopes up. But this live, of course, will be uploaded to our YouTube channel in the next couple of days. Now, a lot of people always ask us, could we not broadcast live on YouTube? I'm afraid we need to get to 1,000 followers on our YouTube channel before we're allowed to broadcast live on there at the same time as we are on Facebook. So it's something we're working on. And I think we've currently got about 550 followers on Facebook or subscribers. So if you haven't already, please make the jump, not now, but later, and subscribe to us on YouTube because we'd love to have you on there and we'd love to be able to broadcast across both channels. So it's something we've got to work on. You know us, we're only a new company. It's going to take us a little while to find our feet, isn't it? So, there's lots of you here. Me waffling about YouTube. Let's have a little look and say good evening. Good evening, Sharon. Thank you for letting us know that you can hear us. Evening, Wendy. Evening, Diane. Evening, Kim. Evening, Sheila, Kathleen, Lynn, Zoe, Dawn. Oh, it's lovely to have you all with us. Thank you for coming along and saying hello this evening and being here with us. Shall we have a little hello from Pete on hostage cam? Let's check in with Pete, make sure he's here.
Hostage cam, I'm still here, not moved.
You have moved. You can't keep telling them that you haven't moved. They're going to think I've held you. Free Deirdre. They're going to think that I've kept you hostage all week. He hasn't. I'm telling you. We went to Highlight the other day. He had like 3 days out, if nothing else.
Did. And you treated me to lunch.
I did treat you to lunch.
Very nice.
Did treat you to lunch.
Yeah. Went to see Bakewell, didn't we?
Oh, we did go and see Bakewell. We love Bakewell. We went for a little wander around Bakewell. So, okay, what are we up to this evening?
Sorry.
No.
Just throw that little curveball out there.
No, Bakewell was lovely, wasn't it? We love Bakewell.
Nice.
Went for a little wander around there. Went down by that river. We always go by the river, don't we?
We
Park
do.
near the river and then wander along the river. Love Bakewell. Sorry, endless waffling about Bakewell. So what we're doing tonight, do you remember? We're going to introduce you to the Cuddly Clown, aren't we? So, of course, today is our stockist launch for the Cuddly Clown collection. And I already hear very good feedback. And I've seen lots of you saying that you've already placed your orders and that they are being rehomed with you very shortly. But we are going to give a little shout out to the stockists that I know have got this collection already and that have announced it's already arrived or is en route to them. So, of course, let's start off with Craft Bliss. They have already received it and are talking about it. We have got Affordable Crafting, Into Craft, The Art of Craft, Giles Crafts, and of course Craft Mania. They're all based here in the UK and have all got it online and are already taking orders for the collection. So that's Craft Bliss, Affordable Crafting, Into Craft, The Art of Craft, Giles Craft, and Craft Mania. And then internationally, keep an eye out for Picture Stamps, who are our New Zealand distributor, or stockist, I should say, who have got their box en route to them. I don't think it's quite made it there yet, but it won't be far away, so keep an eye on them. And then, of course, our international distributor, which is Ecstasy Crafts, their boxes are on their way over to those already, and they feed out to a lot of our American stores. So I'm not too sure which American stores and Canadian stores will be having this collection yet, but as we know more, we'll of course post the details for you so you can see them. Big shout out to Gillian at Giles Craft today, who has already made 2 cards for this collection, and we've shared them so you can see them on our main page as well. But it's absolutely lovely to see the stockists getting on board and sharing inspiration with the collection, as well as us, because every crafter brings to it their own unique styling, don't they? And you see that between us and our design team, but it's lovely to see that sort of coming through and to see Gillian and Giles Crafts joining in the fun and sharing with us. I've also seen some from the design team at Affordable Crafting as well. Mandy's lovely design team, it's lovely to see. Now, we've chatted a little bit about the stockists. If any of our stockists are here with us this evening, why do I feel like I'm talking to the dead? If anybody's here, come in. No, we're not. I'd quite like to. That could be fun. Maybe we'll try that one week. But if the stockists are here with us this evening and you haven't already, please pop a link in the comments to tell everybody where they can find our products on your website. We'd love for you to share that little link with us so that we can get a direct sort of source to go to. Because as everybody knows, here at Jamie Rodgers Crafts, we do not sell direct, and we'd like to support our stockists. So if our stockists are here, please drop some links in the comments. I will run through our little list of stockists again at the end. And if you've got any questions, then give us a shout and we will help try and point you in the right direction. But it would be nice if they're here with us to give us a little link. And I do very much feel like we're talking to the data. It's not good, is it? So let's have a little look. Have we got anybody else who I haven't yet said hello to? Good evening. Where did we get to? It's not very good today, am I? I've lost it all on my little thread already. Dawn, Pippa, Kim, Christine, Lynn, Kay, Debbie. Oh, lovely to have you here, Debbie. Mary. Lynn likes Bakewell. Yeah, we like Bakewell, don't we? We found a lovely little cafe, does really nice jacket potatoes. So we always head there. It's only like half-hour drive from Highlight Crafts. And there's one road that we have to go down. And it's like when you see them posh adverts on the telly for posh cars and they go around those roads in Italy that slake up and down hills. I'm sure this is going to be quite a famous road because it's too like incredible for the world not to know about it. But there's this little road we have to go down, don't we, Pete? And it's like proper down the edge of this big hill and it snakes back and forth. It's lethal. Well, I say it's lethal. I think Pete's more lethal. Our car already has a big dent in the side of it. Not saying who did that, but it wasn't me. So yeah, I do sort of hold on to the seat and the bars as we go down that bit every time. I'm convinced we're going over the edge, but we haven't yet, thank the Lord. Sharon, we should be on full volume, but we'll have a little look just in case I forgot to hit the button. I have got a cold today. Oh, I am on low volume. I'm going to turn me up, so prepare. There you go, that should be better. I don't know why our little box, so thank you for letting me know, our little box has suddenly, every time we go live, started that it doesn't put us on full volume. I don't know why, technologically, but I am full of cold, so forgive me if I'm a little bit muffled and a little bit not with it tonight. It's the Lemsip I blame it on. Okay, so should we have a little look through the collection? If you haven't already seen the collection, I have a feeling you've probably already seen this. So we're going to do a quick run through of the brand new collection, just in case you haven't seen it. And then I promise we're going to do some demos. Now, in the comments this evening, if you would like to win what we create, can you let us know what character is your favourite? All you've got to comment is Freddie, Deirdre, or Henry.
Henry. You had to think then, didn't you?
I did have to think. Could you hear the cogs going?
I did.
It's bad. Yeah, so Freddie, Henry or Deirdre, pop your favourite in the comments and Pete will pick a winner at the end of the evening to win whatever we've made. We're hoping we're going to make a couple of cards this evening. So hopefully we'll be able to send them out to somebody. So with no further ado, let's start flicking through these products, Peter. I've lost him again already. I said to him before we went live, I was like, can we try and be sharp? Actually on it tonight, because we're never on it, are we? I'm never on it. And here we are already, and we've begun, and we're already not on it. So, okay, so take notes if you don't know the characters so that you can tell us which one your favourite is. It will be Deirdre, Henry or Freddie. And we will start off by having a little look at Deirdre. So Deirdre, if you haven't seen these already, Deirdre is our stamp and die set. In here, you're going to receive a DL set of stamps to give you a size idea of the actual sheet of stamps. And then you have matching dies to go with the components so that you can stamp your images and then line them up and cut them out. And we'll be doing this in demo so you can see how easy this is to do. It really isn't complicated. We don't aim to bring you complicated items. So trust me, it's nice and simple to create. Once you've stamped these out, this is the effect you're going to receive. There is a couple of items in here that don't have matching dies to them. Things like the streamers, which are aiming more for background elements. And then, of course, your sentiments. You've got, it's wise to have a hoot on your birthday, and owls just want to have fun. And then you've got the matching dies to go with the rest of the components, as you can see here at the top. Now, a bit of history for you. Deirdre is a bit of a drinker. She loves to celebrate in style. She's into her discos, hence being a disco diva. She loves a bit of ABBA and can often be seen busting a move on the dance floor. Now, that's the story we've created for Deirdre, but Deirdre, just like all of the other characters, can be taken off into your stories, into your stylings. These couple of cards I'm sharing with you here, Deirdre is very much in the party mood, but as we go through the collections, you will see that Deirdre can be holding onto the spanner that comes with Henry. She can be holding onto the fishing rod, which comes with Freddie. You know, it's up to you what sex and what story you create to go alongside your characters. Now, on to our next one. This one is Hazardous Henry. So Henry, well, he's a mischievous little pup who, as you can see, spends his days desperately trying to fix things, but doesn't always get it right. Henry not only comes, of course, with a stamp set, which also features a couple of little sentiment stamps, one saying caution, birthday ahead, and the other one says this card is under construction. There's also a little paw print and like a, I always forget what to call that bit, like a road. Oh, come on, Pete, what am I thinking
Like a warning
of?
sign, you mean?
No, the bar, like the
strip, maybe? Or
no, like what do they call them? The railings, like don't drive through them railings.
like a barrier thing?
Barriers, that's the word I'm looking for. Thanks, Pete. Yeah, like a road barrier with them. When we stamp these out, these are the effects we're going to be able to achieve. And then, of course, we have the matching dies to go in and cut out all of those components. The little hard hat is great because the hard hat can also fit really well onto Freddie when we get onto Freddie in just a moment. So a couple of little samples with this one for you. This is one we actually demoed on Highlight Crafts the other day. If you haven't caught up or you didn't get to see them shows, then you can watch them back on the page you're currently watching this video on or this live on. You can just scroll back down, and we've done quite a few posts over the last couple of days, but you can see them. You can also catch up on the liveshopping.vip website and the Highlight Crafts page and the Highlight Crafts YouTube channel, as well as a couple of other places as well. But if you didn't get to see this card being made, then you can go back and watch it if you would like to. But it's really nice because it's using the mechanical collection, which come out earlier in January, and then bringing in our lovely Henry to sort of sit alongside it. And you know us, this is something we always aim to do. We want our collections to work together, and I think this is a great way of showing you how those two recent collections are going to work together brilliantly. And then a card here done by Ian, and I love this one. Ian has taken Henry off, in my mind, into a bit of a James Bond styling. And I think that's really cool because if you want to do little picture books, storybooks, maybe you want to do multifold cards, maybe you want to do like before and after style cards, maybe you just want your characters to look kind of different as you go through little booklets, you can absolutely do that. And although Henry comes in his little hazardous jacket, you can see on this one how Ian's really lovely coloured over it so that it actually looks more like a waistcoat, and he's added in a little shirt underneath there as well. And you'll see that on a couple of my samples too that I've done. I've added it into like being a little fishing jacket and added little pockets and bits. On the demo we're going to do tonight for you, hopefully, we're going to turn him into a bit of a hippie. And this is what we wanted, is characters that you could take off in multiple tangents. So then, moving on, let's have a little look at our next one and our last character in the collection. We are going to have a little look now at Freddie. Now, Pete, while I'm waffling, please yell if I miss any comments because I don't want to miss anything. You know what I'm like. Yep. So on we go to Henry. It's bad enough trying to talk at once and flash things, but to try and read as well, you know that overloads my little brain. So on to Henry, Freddie, sorry. So Freddie is again our lovely little fisherman, and Freddie is set again with all of his stamps here. You've got Freddie, you've got the little bucket of fish, you've got the main fish, you've got the fish bones, the fishing rod, the sentence that says have a perfect day, and the little bowl as well. And of course then you've got the dies to come in and cut out all of the main items. I'm going to go out, and I don't know if anyone's asked us yet, I'm going to say I think Freddie's my favourite. Have you got a favourite?
Not allowed favourite.
I am allowed a favourite, absolutely. But Freddie, every time I look at him, reminds me of Sherlock, our cat. And I think that's possibly why Freddie pips him to the post. I think last time we were talking about this, I think I said Deirdre, but I think Freddie has just pipped Deirdre over the edge.
He is cute.
But Freddie, of course, is our little kitten who loves to go out and do a bit of fishing. And as you can see, his face is just perfect to take off into so many different ways. Another little tip I would give you, I don't know if we're going to do this in demos tonight, but their heads are ever so easy to trim off. And then you can move their heads to create different stylings within the characters, which I think is really nice. This is, and again, one of the cards we demoed on Highlight Crafts the other day. where the head has been removed and layered up. Now that's a really good way to bring dimension to your project, but it's also quite nice to give it a little twist. And then maybe if you're going to do like a multi-fold card, you can have them looking at each other and creating different stylings that way. Freddie, again, of course, can be used in loads of different colours. So this little easel card here, created by Lynn, I believe, if I remember rightly. Yeah, it is Lynn, isn't it? Yeah, Lynn's created this one. You can see how she's created this lovely easel card, and she's brought in the circles we'll be looking at, the stencil. Then, of course, Freddie, decorated in little polka dot dungarees, which I think are absolutely gorgeous. And then down the bottom there, we've got the word sister, and we've got the little cake, which comes with Deirdre. So it really does show how all of the items interchange throughout them. And of course, holding onto a balloon here, which comes with Deirdre. So it really will mix and match throughout the collection if you haven't already sort of seen that. Then we move on to a couple of finishing touches as such, bits that we can add on over the top. Hi Jamie, I hope I'm watching live and you're really here. Yes, Rose, I can assure you, you are live and we are here. But it's so lovely to see that comment, because I too often do this. I often feel, am I in the right place at the right time? But you are. You're in the right place for our Monday night out at 7 p.m. So hopefully you'll enjoy sort of having a little look through the collection. So there are 3 characters. We had Deirdre, Henry and Freddie. So let us know in the comments which one your favourite is, and then Pete will pick a winner for what we make at the end of the video, or the end of the live. Now then, we move on to our floral bouquet die set. I love this set. I've had so much fun creating with this. And if I remember, before I let you go this evening, I'll show you a couple of cards which I made yesterday, which I haven't yet shown anybody. Now, with this die set, not only does it cut, it will also deboss for you. So hopefully you're going to see this okay on the screen, but you will hopefully see that there is deboss details running through all of your flowers. Now this is great because it means that we can highlight over the top of these with ink. We can go and trace lines around them if we want to, and add in more detail. But they're just really, really pretty. In this set, we have 2 dies, which actually, if I remember rightly, gives you 10 different components. You've got your 6 for your flowers and then your 4 for your foliage, but broken down to 2 dies, so you can cut all your flowers multiple times and then all of your foliage multiple times in the relevant colours that you need. And they're slightly smaller sets than we've done before, hopefully making them a little bit more sort of pocket friendly. When we come on to looking at these on cards, this is one that Lynn has created where she's done this beautiful wreath, and I love the way she's formed these flowers and used all of the different components. I like also the way she's brushed ink over the top of the die cut so that you've got that vein coming through in a different colour. And then one here, I believe this one's done by Ian, where he's built up a little scene and brought in the flowers and the foliage, and then added a little flower into Deirdre's hand as well. I thought that was really super cute and shows a different style. Then we're going to move on and we'll have a little look at our new alphabet set. So I think we're going to show you all 3 at once. Here we are. So our new velvet script alphabet set. Now this is really, really cool. This gives you the ability to create all of your own sentiments, all of your own dates, all of your own journaling titles, everything you could possibly want, the freedom to create word and number wise. There's 3 different pieces, and it starts off here with our number die set. Now this all comes to you on one plate, so you've got 1 to 0 as such, or 1 to 9 and 0, I don't know how to say that. But it gives you all of the bits you need to create every number you could want. This die set, I'm going to go out a limb now and ask Pete a question. They're on post-its in the front of our camera here if you forgot. How much is it?
$5.99 RRP.
That's what I thought. $5.99 for this one. I thought that was a really good price point. I was really impressed with that because it means it's an achievable pocket money price point for everybody, hopefully. And it gives you all of the numbers you're going to want to go throughout all of your projects from now on, really. Whether that's numbers to go on an advent calendar, whether that's birthday numbers, whether that's phone numbers on something you're personalising. You know, it could be a million different reasons that we need our numbers. We then have the lowercase medium alphabet and the uppercase medium alphabet, and I point out that this is our medium set because later down the line, later this year, we will bring you a smaller and a larger set at some point. And I tell you that because it's nice that you know that this is then going to coordinate through and be used to go through all of your different projects, all of your different placements. And the font, this matches up with the font that you're going to see on our smaller sentiments. So anytime you see like our happy birthday, for instance, on a project, this is the same font. So you might want to add happy birthday and then the numbers, or happy birthday mum, happy birthday Fiona, happy birthday Kim, whatever it may be. It's going to tie in completely and give you a more professional look because of the font coordinates between our sentiments and then gives you the freedom to create what you want to with it. And there's just a couple of little cards here done by Lynn with her gone fishing using some of the elements from Freddie, and then our spanner from our previous mechanical collection, and then 21 again being used here with Deirdre. Okay, let's have a little look onto the next one.
We've got our lovely Robin joined us from New Zealand.
Robin here. Good evening, Robin. Oh, I say that. I don't know what it is in New Zealand. It's probably morning, isn't it?
I don't know. Robin.
Come on, Robin, let us know. What time of the day is it where you are? Help us out here. Save us Googling it because of, us. We'll probably get it wrong. So moving on, we have 3 stencils for you. Now, these are all 8x8 stencils, and that gives you the ability to make really large backgrounds. But of course, the design isn't super large. So if you do want to focus in just on smaller parts, then you absolutely can do. But this one gives you all of your dog bones and your little paw prints. And anytime we're talking about stencils, these are going to emboss for you brilliantly. Just a couple of little bits of inspiration here for you to show you how you can emboss those. Oh, what's going on here, Pete? I've got a cat and a dog one. Oh, that's going to confuse us. So we'll stick to the dog one. So this is our dog stencil embossed in the background here. And we'll hold on to this one with Freddie on it for when we get to the Freddie stencil, because we, of course, have a matching stencil to go with Freddie. It's my fault I put them out.
Sorry.
No, don't apologise.
The balloon one,
completely. So we'll have a look at the balloon one first of all. This is our balloons and streamers. Now, I have a feeling that you're all going to sort of pick this one to go in with every birthday card that you ever make. Again, this is such a lovely stencil, and when embossed has such detail to it. They really are incredible and such a lovely design to work with. Now, of course, you can use this with your characters, but you can, of course, use it with every birthday card you're ever going to make. But it does work really nicely. This, of course, designs to go in with the Deirdre collection. It's the same balloon and streamers, but of course, works brilliantly for every birthday project you're ever going to do again. Then we'll move on and we'll have a look at the next one. So the next one is a feline paws and bones stencil. So this is where this sample's coming in to give you a little glimpse. I think this one's done by Lynn. I don't know, actually it might be Ian. I'm sorry, this one ain't got a name on it. I know the little bag is done by Lynn, where she's made it out of an 8x8 envelope, but both of them really lovely, showing you how you could do some great colouring techniques with these to create great backgrounds. Another one here by Ian, where he's even, I love this, I'm going to give a little shout out to this. I love the way Ian has used the balloon, which comes with Deirdre, trimmed off the bottom of it a little bit to turn it into a little vase to put the foliage into, or the flowers into. And this one again embosses beautifully. How are we doing, Pete? What else have we got to share with them? Because we're 20 minutes in and I'm conscious that I'm waffling on about this lot and they've possibly seen it and want to see some demos. So our last stencil is our spanner stencil. So this one, of course, goes with Hazardous Henry and gives us the ability to emboss or colour or texture paste or ink or whatever we wish to do to create these beautiful backgrounds to go, of course, with Henry, or, of course, going to work brilliantly with the mechanical collection. This one, I've embossed it and rubbed a little bit of our elephant grey ink over the top of it. This one Sharon's done, and she's used it with our gemstones texture paste, which works really lovely. Then moving on to our last item, I believe, is, of course, and you're going to have seen these through lots and lots of the samples, is, of course, our circles. Now, these are a vital ingredient to all crafting, really, aren't they? How many times do we reach for our mats and layers, dies, whatever the brand may be? These are the foundation to so many of our projects, aren't they? And of course, we can't not have our essential collection of mats and layers dies. Now, you possibly know this if you've joined us before or you've seen me waffle on previously, but we have got squares, rectangles and ovals. These are our brand new circles, and there are 5 different designs within these. You have got your plain circles, giving you 24 different sizes of circles. Basically every possible version of circle we can give you between 3/4 of an inches and approximately 8 by 8 inches. You can of course use as we have here. I love the way they've done the boards this time to show you them sort of radiating out in sizes, but of course they can be stacked if you prefer. You can cut into them as frames. There's loads we can do with these, but they of course also match up with the other 4 in the collection. So if we move on, we then have our postage stamp design. And in this set, there are 11 dies. Now, this is what I mean about interchangeability. You might want to bring in that postage stamp edge, pop in a plain one to the centre and cut it out as a frame for a scrapbook page, or to make a frame to go on the front of your card, etc. You then have the fluted edge, very similar to the postage in the way that you get 11 dies in this set, that again are going to work perfectly with those plain circles we just mentioned and bring you that beautiful fluted edge as you can see here. Then it gets really interesting because our next two sets, you have got the scallops and you have got the decals. Now with the decals you receive a stitch line, and with the scallops you receive a pierce line, and those lines are separate dies. So not only can you use them with the sets they come with, we can also take these separate pierce or stitch lines and we can put those into our fluted edges, we can put those into our postage edges, we can put those into our plain edges. And this is what we mean about interchanging between the whole collection. Or of course you can use those on their own. Now I'm hoping you're going to see this okay. But that pierced detailing, just cut into a card on its own, creates the most amazing background, especially if you're into clean and simple style cards. Or of course can be nested on the inside of your shape dies, whether they're the ones they come with or any of the others we just mentioned. And this is what we mean about interchanging. Maybe you want to go for a scalloped edge with a pierced line and then add in the plain circle. Maybe you want a postage stamp edge with the decal edge line and then a plain circle. It can all be mix and matched between them, so you've got the most creativity we can possibly give you within a set of circles. And then to top all of this off, all of these edges, all of these pierced bits, of course, run through the squares and the rectangles and the ovals. So you might wish to interchange between all of them and put like the circles inside the squares. Now, just a couple of bits to share with you here. We were doing this on Highlight Crafts the other day, but if you haven't seen it and you want to see it done tonight, let me know. But this is a little rose or a little flower I've created by spiral cutting one of the scallop circles, and then we could glue that together to make our very own little flower. This was with the second size up in that set. So you think of all of the different sizes you could be making of these coiled flowers to go with it. And then one little example that I absolutely fell in love with. This one is created by Wendy, where she has used the postage circle and she's fronted and backed her card with that bit, made a little like sandwich between it, and then added all of these beautiful flowers coming out the top of it. And I love this because it's got that postage edge to it. It stands brilliantly because it's not got that sort of edge to rock off. It's got that flat edge to it. So great way to stand. And then she's made a little matching box that of course ties together to create that finished project, which I really, really love. So, okay, let's have a little look then. Have we missed any questions? Let's have a little look for our questions while I have a little drink.
We found out it's 8:20 in the morning in New Zealand.
Oh my
Very
goodness,
early.
I'm sorry, Robin. The last thing anyone wants at 8:20 in the morning is to listen to me waffle on. I apologise, I genuinely do, but it's lovely to have you with us. Have we got a favourite yet? I'm moving the goalpost now, aren't I? I'm going to get you to tally up.
I think.
Have we got a favourite between the three? Kim likes Deirdre the drunk. I wonder why, Kim.
We haven't heard where she is tonight.
Yeah, you haven't told us yet, Kim. Where are you this evening? Don't worry, you're late, Samantha. Honestly, lovely to just have you with us. Kathleen, has anyone got a Go Power and embossing die cutting machine? When I try embossing a stencil, it either shows nothing or almost welds itself to the embossing mat. Do you know what, Kathleen? Out of all the machines I've ever had, I've never had one of them. So I can't give you too much advice on that one. If I was finding that it was welding itself to the rubber mat, I would put a non-stick sheet between it. Now, this isn't a plug for a product. You could use a piece of copy paper if you want to, but the copy paper might then stick to the mat. So I would, if it was me, I would use, you know, the self-adhesive sheets that we do and lots of people do. When you take the lid off of the self-adhesive sheet, you end up with like a non-stick sheet, like the top of your double-sided tape. That is a great surface to put between anything like that if it's sticking. If it's not embossing sufficiently, which was the first part of your comment, then that usually means there's not enough depth to what you're doing. So I'd tell you to pop in a shim. Maybe that's a couple of pieces of card, or maybe you might have a metal mat, like a metal shim. I'm trying to see if I've got one to show you. The machine I use comes with one of those. So you might just be able to add in something like this, which will up the ante a little bit. But basically you need to increase the pressure so that when your rubber mat's hitting your stencil, it gives you more depth. I use a Kit and Caboodle Pro Cut, and it comes with all the right plates and the mat to use to do it. Your Go Power might need a couple of extra bits to up the ante and give it a bit more of a squidge, because it's just about the squidge being hard enough to, or thick enough to apply the pressure. So hopefully that will help. Alison would like to know if Kim was watching down the pub as well. Kim, we're really getting you a bit of a rep, aren't we? I'm sorry about this. Samantha, Freddie is my favourite, but might change my mind when they all arrive. I've gone for the scallop circles to match my skirts. Oh, exciting. That's nice to hear. And then Alison, how long do your magnetic sheets last on your Pro Cut? Genuinely, Alison, up until I forget and put the die the wrong way around and cut into them. Which has happened a couple of times, but the mats in general do actually last a really long time. I've got my newer plates up here this evening, so that probably isn't going to help me too much, but even this one you can probably see it's had quite a bit of use and is still very much together and working fine. But honestly, I don't have any problem with the mats for the Pro Cut. I love them. They don't bend, they don't warp, they're brilliant. I genuinely love this machine. Okay, shall we have a little play? Shall we see what we can create? Because if not, I'm just waffling and that's the last thing anyone needs. So I thought we would start off by having a little look at Freddie, because I love this little character. He just makes me smile. So I thought we'd bring in the flowers and we'll do a little bit of embossing and we'll create this card. Now, if you would like to win the finished version of this, please don't forget to let us know in the comments which one is your favourite of the characters, Freddie, Henry or Deirdre, and Pete will pick a winner and we will post these out to you. And it doesn't matter where in the world you are, we will send them to you wherever you may be, because it's all about sharing the love of the Cuddly clan. So we're going to bring in a piece of card and we're going to bring in our stamp. So we're going to start off by stamping Freddie, and we're going to find an ink pad. Now I'm going to stick to our Black Panther Quick Dry Pigment inks for this one, but of course you could use any inks to stamp our lovely characters with. You might choose to heat emboss them. You could do them with all different metallic inks if you wanted to. That's what I love about a stamp. A stamp genuinely is a tool, isn't it? It's a tool that can be taken off in so many different directions just by the mediums we choose to use within that stamped image, you know, and the ways in which we wish to do it. So to me, it opens up a whole new avenue of possibilities when we start talking about stamps, because there's just so many ways we can use them. So a little tip, and again, you don't have to follow my lead on this one, and you might have a bit more sort of confidence in your abilities of what you're doing than I do in mine. But I tend to do my stamping and then I will do my cutting, just because if I'm not happy with how the cut comes out, I've not coloured it and wasted my time in colouring it. Now, if you do have your die move or you don't quite line it up, then of course the line of the die gives you a lovely white frame around the image. So you can go in with scissors and even it up a little bit, but it's always better we get it right first time. And to be honest, the times that I don't get it right is when I'm not concentrating, which happens a bit too often in honesty in my world. But if you give it a good look, hopefully I'll anchor it down and then I'll show you. But if we just use a bit of tape to hold our die in place, we can really see that we're in the right place. You know, the line of the die literally runs around the edge of the stamp. So there's no real way you can do this wrong unless you move it or forget, which, as I say, I have had happen. But that is usually me not paying attention more than anything to do with the product. So we'll send that through and we'll let that cut out. So again, these are quite a nice size. So even if you're working with an A5 machine, it doesn't have to be an A4 one. I'm working in an A4 machine, but it could be a smaller die cutting machine. I'm trying to remember, I only measured these yesterday, but the stamps themselves, I think they were 3 inches by 5 inches. To give you a rough idea, let's have a little look. Maybe it was 4 by 5, I don't know. 3.5 inches for Freddie's whiskers by about 4.5-ish. Well, maybe if we go to the top of the ear, 5. It's about 5 inches-ish. Deirdre is a little bit smaller. I would say she's the smallest character out of them all. So we'll give you a little measure of Deirdre, just so you've got some size ideas. So yeah, about 3 3/4 for Deirdre going wing to wing about 3.5. So yeah, they do vary a little bit, but they're certainly going to go through your A5 machines, and then some of the smaller machines from there, maybe even. But you know, there's so many machines now, isn't there? It's hard to guarantee. Now, I've taken my tape off a bit naughtily and ripped my card, but it really doesn't matter. But the other bit I'd like to just share with you, of course, is not only do you have the die to cut out Freddy, you've then got the perfect frame to go around Freddy. So if you wish to layer up, then you absolutely can do it, and that can work really nicely for you. Now, colouring in, I colour like a 2-year-old. I often confess this. I'm not the best colourist in the world, so I'm not going to pretend to be. But I do tend to colour mine in with alcohol markers. And I'll keep a bit of card off to one side, and then I will just come in and do a little test, and then we'll do a little bit of colouring just so you can see him coming to life. Now, while I'm colouring, is there any questions we have missed this evening, Peter? Or any questions anybody would like to jump in the comments and ask? Although we are, of course, looking at the Cuddly clan this evening, if we can help you with anything, we're here to help.
None that I can see. I'm just checking to make sure my comments haven't frozen.
Comments on Facebook Live
They
can be a bit of a
do.
nightmare, can't they? We had one a couple
Yeah.
of weeks ago, didn't we?
No.
And we missed so many, and at the end found hundreds of comments that we didn't know about. So if we do miss your comment, please don't hesitate to ask again. It's not intentional. It's just they're not necessarily showing up on our screen. And it was funny, we mentioned that last week, and a lot of people said to us, that I'd noticed that in other lives that they've sort of been held up and then come through all at once. So yeah, please don't think we're sort of not reading them out for a reason. It's just that we haven't necessarily seen them. So we'll go in for a little bit of the same shade in the ears as well, and add in a little bit of colour there. Now, has anyone, or have you, more Peter, decided so far who our winner is in our little Cuddly Clan popularity contest? Have we got a winner between Freddie, Deirdre, or Henry?
It's quite a mix, really. I think Freddy is quite popular. Seems to be one of the most popular ones for people. But again, I've gone back the comments and come back in again, and I've lost the rest of my comments at the moment.
Oh dear.
So I'm going to try and see on another device.
Peter.
I know, but I think Freddy is probably up there.
Freddie is so super cute, but they're all cute,
yeah.
aren't they? They are so cute. I will tell you, we're already working on the next release, aren't we? There will have to be more Cuddly Clan editions, without a doubt.
Are we allowed to reveal?
That's a bit late now, isn't it?
Well, yeah. They're used to us by now, aren't they?
But there's no way that we can leave Freddie and the clan without more editions. But that'll be later in the year, lots later in the year. But there will have to be a few more, I feel. They're too fun to not add more editions. So I don't want to do loads of this. I was just trying to show you more, that although I would never pride myself as a colourist, because I'm really genuinely not. I'm quite terrible at colouring. Freddie does come together very quickly to give you a great result, even if you're not the best colourist. So if I think sometimes we think, oh, I can't do that, and I'm not going to be able to achieve that. And actually, just even with like the basic markers and a little bit of time, you can really create something quite lovely. And I'm not saying that my colouring is great, because it really isn't. But if you have a little look at that, even with just like 4 or 5 pens, straight away the character's coming to life, isn't it? You can see that Freddie's starting to tell a story. He's already starting to give us a personality and a story to who he is and what he is and where he's come from and what he's doing. And that's what I love with these. And when you start playing around with different colours and start building little families of them, you can straight away see that sort of different personality and story that's coming out from each of them. And I love that, because it gives you freedom as a creator to create and take off on different versions and different paths for each of them. And yeah, I've had so much fun, and I believe the design team have as well, in sort of creating their story and making their their characters come to life and sort of show that different version, whether you're aiming for adult cards or children's cards, or maybe you're doing home decor, or maybe you're going to make to sell and you want to put them into some box frames, and you know, I just think it gives you that ability to take them off in so many different ways. Oh, we've got Fran's joined us. Lovely to have you with us, Fran. So far, Fran, we've had a little look through the collection and we're just starting our first demo. So we've coloured in Freddie and we're just going to do a bit of cutting for another one of the layers to go under Freddie. So I brought in the scallop circle and I added in on the inside the pierced detailing. Now this is actually different to what I used on the finished card. We're going to use the decal edge circle with the stitch line, but once again, in case you've not seen this, they are separate stitch and pierce lines that can yo-yo throughout the collection or be used independently. When we was at Highlight Crafts the other day, it was really lovely actually. Mel was sort of asking a couple of questions about what's the different ways we can use the circle dies and what different pieces can we create with them. And it was really lovely because I think sometimes in my mind, I've sort of been to all of these places and know kind of what they're going to do and how they're going to work. And it's not till you start talking to somebody who hasn't quite seen them before that you actually start sparking off fresh ideas and new ideas. And it was lovely to be able to have a chance to sort of show you a few different cuts. So again, if you haven't seen the Highlight Craft shows, do have a little look back at them because it'd be lovely for you to see them. But I'll share these with you just in case you didn't. This is one of the little demos we did, and this is, it was a piece of card I folded in half, but I was more trying to show you how those pierced lines can be bought in and added to any card blank just to make these sort of little landing spots that you could then build up and use as sort of your starting point. Or maybe you want to die cut the same size circles and emboss them and add them into them. Or maybe you want to bring in the matching plain dies and cut them out and then create little apertures to hang items within. Or maybe you even want to go one step further and create a little wraparound for your card. So you've got the wraparound with the windows and then it opens up to the matching lines. And this is what having those separate lines and ideas sort of give you the ability to go off and create. And that's before you start thinking about all of these bits that come out of them. So maybe you want to piece those back into the middles of the places and build those up. Maybe you want to do them in a different colour. Maybe you want to emboss them. Maybe you just want to go in and use them on their own. Maybe you want to add in different edges or the same edges. So you've got the fluted edge with a fluted circle in the middle. And then we added in 3 of the stitch lines. We purposely skipped one just so you could see that, you know, that's how your spacing could be created. Maybe that's going to then be built up with some flowers being wrapped around it. You know, the ideas are endless. And this is what we wanted as a collection that you could take off into so many different possibilities by giving you those components individually. So it's down to you how you create with them and what you want to make with them.
Quick question from Sheila. Sorry.
Evening, Sheila.
With the quick dry inks, can you blend with them and use water with them?
You can blend with them. You cannot use water with them. If you use water with the quick dry inks, it's too oily and it just becomes like an oily mess, like oil and water. You can absolutely blend with them. There's no reason you can't at all. If you use them over a stencil, wipe it off quite quickly because it will dye your stencil. This isn't something that's ever bothered me personally because of their tools, and as long as the colour's not going to come off on the next project, it's never bothered me. But I know some people prefer to keep their stuff clean and fresh and ready. So just as a little warning, it is an ink that will stain the stencils if you blend it over a stencil, but absolutely you can blend with them. They're also pigmented, so you can heat emboss with them. And as you see from our demo, they're alcohol marker friendly, so you can colour over them and they're not going to bleed into what you're doing. They're also waterproof, so if you wanted to paint in with watercolour inks and bits, you absolutely can do as well. So lots of different ways you can use those. When we talk about our metallic inks, which are the only other ink pads that we've done so far, these ones again do all of the same things that we just mentioned. So they are waterproof once dry, water reactive once wet, can be blended and are pigmented as well. So they open up a little bit more of a world of choice because of those ones you can, when they're wet, you can mix water with them and they don't go oily. I hope that helps. So what we've done here is we've taken the circle, we've laid it on top of the stencil and we've put on a rubber mat and we're sending it for our machine. So just like the question earlier, in case you've not seen this done before, we go for the same stack that they recommend to use with the machine. And that does vary depending on the machine you're using, but stencil, card, rubber mat. And what's going to happen is the rubber mat will push down onto the card and push it into all of the openings found within the stencil. So when we lift this off, we have that beautiful level of embossing. Now, if you're looking at this and thinking, wow, that looks like a deep emboss, one of the reasons for that is our stencils are cut from a slightly thicker mylar to what a lot of stencil brands cut from. They're not so thick that you can't shape them. So if you wanted to wrap this around a vase or something and work with it, you absolutely can do. But they're a little bit stronger. And we do that intentionally because it means that when we emboss them, we're going to get extra depth to them. It also means when we go really down to the nitty-gritty fine points, like these sort of fish bones, we don't have to worry that you're going to damage them. I've worked with stencils before where you've got little bits that very quickly start moving. You go in with a blending brush and suddenly they move and you end up with like a shadow underneath what you're doing. We don't want that. We want you to be able to go in and give them a good wiggle and then stay in place, however fine a detail we go down to. It also means when we apply texture paste over the top, we're going to get more depth to our texture paste, so you end up with more prominence. So that's why our stencils are cut from a thicker mylar. But to me, the mind-blowing bit is when you see them embossed, because that is such a wow level of embossing. Even before we do anything else to this, we can see that level. Now, I don't need this one, so we'll bring in some ink actually, and we'll show you just by taking an ink pad over the top of this, the level of embossing that we've created. Now, we're working on the deboss side for this one. I think actually I'm sort of going ahead of myself because we're going to do a demo with this shortly. And of course, we can apply the stencil back in place. If you don't want any colour going through to the underneath, then you can do that. But because of, you can put the stencil back on and apply the ink over the top of it. But because of the prominence of the embossing, normally if the embossing is quite thin, if you take an ink pad to it and you apply the ink over the top, you're going to just cover the back, you're going to cover the background because there's not enough difference between the top and the bottom. But where we've got more depth, the ink will pretty much rub over the top, and we're going to get a little bit go through to the background, but not enough that it kind of obliterates the pattern and you just end up with a grey piece of card, because that's the last thing we want. But of course we have that stencil that we can apply over the top and add the colour that way if we prefer. So it just shows you there's two ways to do it. One would give you a very clean and crisp effect. The other's going to give you that little bit of ink going through to the background. But I quite like that because it gives it a bit more of a vintage effect.
Quick question from Dawn.
Evening, Dawn.
Hi, Dawn. How do you stamp a group of the characters? So like one behind each other? More
I would probably
really,
die cut them, to be honest. And then I would, let's do it. Let's have a little go. I would never pretend I'm the most educated stamper. You know, for years I worked with Francois and Jane, who the things they can do with a stamp just blow my mind, genuinely. And on our design team, you know, Lynn especially, some of the ways that Lynn takes a stamped image off is incredible. I wouldn't class myself as the best stamper or the best colourist in the world, but I love them. And I see so many opportunities that we can create with them and so much fun that we can have with characters and as I said earlier, playing around with different mediums. So it might not be something I'm brilliant at, but it's something I enjoy. So if I was going to try and layer my characters, we can't leave Deirdre out, can we? Deirdre's sort of here for the party. So we'll start. I haven't picked a very big bit of card, have I? So we're going to bring Deirdre slightly over the edge, and we'll put her in slightly on an angle as well, because she has had a bit of a tipple already tonight. So, you know, she might be struggling a little. So we'll put her off to one side. Or she might be flapping about. She might, you know, she's the only one who's got that ability to have a little flap, isn't she? So let's pop her in the air a little. Peter's shaking his head. Like, what's wrong with that?
I think you've had too many lem sips.
I've had a lot of lem sips, so you are right on that one. Lemon sip and lockets, it's a lethal combo. So straight away you could then see that actually you could bring Freddie in and you could pad Freddie up a little bit so that Freddie is going to sit more above the image. And that's probably how I would choose to do them if I was going to layer them. That is if you don't choose to die cut all of the individuals and then start sort of building them up in a scene that way, which I probably would die cut them, because then that way I could put more behind them. I could start thinking about patterns and colours and bits that I want to put behind there so that I can build that family. And I would probably, and we're going to do it, sorry Freddie, I haven't got one here that we've done this to already, so I would potentially take Freddie's head off, and then I would tuck his body behind there, and then I would probably put his head on, but on more of an angle, so that it doesn't just look like we've used the same image twice. And now I've cut Freddie's head off to do this, but one tip I would give you if you're going to cut his head off is I would still, I'm trying to see if I've got another Freddie here, wait there. I'm delving, give me a moment, delving in the box of tricks. I've got another Freddie. So even if I was going to cut Freddie's head off, I would still do a full Freddie and then put the head on over the top of the other one and trim round it. Or maybe take him off. Oh, this is evil, Freds, I'm sorry. We're going to take him off like that, so that when we put this head back on, we've still got that little bit of fuzz coming from underneath. So it grounds him. Hopefully you can see that okay. But then that way, if you go off on an angle, you've still, and if you coloured it to match Freddie, as in what you've done on the face here, I think it's going to look better. But you could then put one at an angle with a bit of a collar showing, and then one in front of it, and then layer his head as well, so that you build them up. And that's how I would do it personally. But we are trying to fill options before we end up with more characters, aren't we, really? We need more characters. This is what I'm pushing for. I've had so much fun with these. I need more. I'm looking at Pete now to rubber stamp more and more and more, and we'll end up with like 400 different characters, because I've just had so much fun playing with these. But hopefully that gives you a bit of help to do it. As Lynn says in the comments, you could mask them. Absolutely, you could mask them if you wanted to. So you've probably seen before, there's a product called Mask It, which is like masking tape but on an A4 sheet. And that's actually really good, because again, with Lynn, light years ahead of me, but if you think about it logically, because you've got the die that you could then cut just out of the Mask It, you could cut that and layer it. And if you can't get hold of Mask It, so the one I was thinking of was Woodware, which we know is possibly not going to be easily found any longer, and I'm sure other people must do Mask It, but I only know the Woodware one. But you could do it out of a copy of paper or a Post-it and then lay it on, or hold it down with some low tack, couldn't you, and then stamp round it. So by that, Lynn means, we're going off on a different tangent, which is good. I like this. This is what I love about a live. You come in thinking you're going to do one thing and you end up on 5 different tangents, which is what we really want to do, because it's about trying to work with everybody's ideas and see what we can create. So let's bring back in our panel. And this isn't going to work brilliantly because I've cut mine out of card, and card is going to create a step between the one we stamp and the one that we've done. But it'll give you an idea. Let's see if we can find another bit of card. So we'll bring in Freddie. No, we won't. We'll bring in Henry. Getting confused now with my characters. And we'll stick to another Henry, because that's going to be easier. So where are we? Put you where you need to be. So let's stamp our first one so you can see that in action. So we've still got a little bit of ink on Henry from earlier, but we'll stamp that one down so that Henry's nice and in place. And then we're going to add this Henry over the top. Now you might choose where you get that little extra line around here, because that's what the die allows. You might want to take that off with some scissors so it's literally against the line, if you prefer. But we'll bring in another one. We won't go too much. We'll go just so that we're over like there. And then we'll pick that up. And this is kind of what masking is in a kind of way. As I say, I can't pretend I'm the best stamper in the world. But it kind of gives you the option of masking. See, this is where my step's coming in between the two. But that'll give you an idea. And then if we take that one away, you've kind of got the look as in his ear is running behind this one's ear. So if we was to colour in this Henry, you can see there that his ear is sitting in front of the new Henry. So the one that we've stamped last is the one that will appear at the back of the image. So that's how masking's kind of going to work for you. And of course, you could do loads with that. You could bring in the disco ball and put that above them, or you could stamp some spanners in a background around them. But it certainly helps to build up your scene if you want to. That's if you don't just want to bring in and layer over the top instead. So hopefully that helps. Fran says, isn't there a masking paint you can get rubs off when dry? There is. Again, it's not Woodware that did that, is it? That was Creative Expressions, but I think there's a few people, or Cosmic Shimmer. I think there's a few different brands who do that. I've never attempted with that, being honest with you. I've never gone down that route, ever. But I'm sure it works. It's just not something I've personally done. But yes, there is like a liquid. I think they use it a lot in art, don't they? To be honest, that you can do arty effects with it and then mask off different bits. So yeah, you could try that if that's something you'd like to do. Okay, let's finish this card. Let's build this up. Yeah, if there's any more questions, Pete.
Well, just one more.
Oh, go on then. What we got?
Making you work for it tonight.
Can
you make mirror the stamps so you could have two Henrys facing each other?
You can. Shall we do that? Let's have a little play. So we're going to add that layer down because I've taken the tape off of it. So this is the way I mirror stamps. And again, there's a lot of things in life that you can do in different ways. You can do mirroring on a jelly plate, for instance. That works very well. So that's a great way to do it. The way I like mirroring, and I'll show you it in this format, and you can do this on a blending mat. You can do this on also acetate. Basically, you want a non-stick surface is what we're heading for here. So something that's non-stick that we can play with. And we're gonna stick with Henry. We're making Henry work tonight as well, aren't we? Poor Henry. Come on in, let's do your next job. So we're gonna anchor down our blending mat. And this is basically about making sure that the ink is going to stay wet long enough for us to do what we want to do with it. So I've just moved my blending mat typically. It's a bit harder to hold a blending mat down in a stamp press because obviously it's a bit thicker. So we'll do it on this side, but that's fine. So we're going to bring in our blending mat and we're going to stamp our Henry up with some black pigment ink and we're going to stamp that down. I've never done it with our inks actually, so I'm hoping this works. But if it doesn't, then try an oxide ink or one that stays wetter a bit longer, but we'll give it a go. Everything's to play for, nothing to lose. So we've stamped our lovely Henry onto our mat. Now what we'll do is we'll bring in a piece of card and we'll lay that over the top. And we're going to do exactly the same as we would do as if we were going to emboss that stencil like we did before. So we're going to bring that over and we're going to lay that down on our plate and we're going to place on top a rubber mat. And we're then going to add on our top mat to this. So what we're doing this time is we're applying oodles of pressure through our machine onto that stamped image. So what's going to happen is the stamped image is going to come off of our blending mat and transfer onto our piece of card. Now, because of obviously we're working from the print that it was, it's going to reverse it for us. So when it comes through, oh no, that's fine. So when it comes through, you can see that we have now got Henry looking in the opposite direction to our other Henry. So just like before, we could then bring in Henry. Poor Henry. Poor Henry. He is working hard, isn't he? And we'll stamp up Henry. Oh, if I can keep hold of the ink. He's a bit high. Let's see if we can match him. See, this is actually quite lovely. I didn't do any of this in my examples. I should have done this because this is actually really cool, isn't it? Can you imagine doing this for somebody who's like a mechanic or a bit of a fixer and then adding their name across a banner across the bottom of it, or maybe doing this on a scrapbook page or colouring, if you've got twins. You imagine if you've got twins in your family, how cool that would be. Or maybe if you want to do, like we've done it all on one panel, but maybe you want to do a gatefold card and you want to have the two Henrys looking at each other. That's pretty cool, isn't it? I like that. It's a really good idea. Now, of course, with your dies, where is it? So your die is going to match up to the stamped image perfectly, the one that we've just stamped. But if you wanted to, you might want to look up to a light so you can see it. I'm going to see if I can do it right there. So if we was to match that up, I'm holding it up to the light, you could then put your die over the reverse and send it through, and it's going to cut out for you. Now, when you use a die on the wrong side, you're going to end up with possibly a bit of a beveled edge. But if you send that back through your machine with your rubber mat on top, it'll squish your edge back, and it gives you a really nice flat edge again, and it will look more like it's been cut out on a Cricut. With these dies, that doesn't make a lot of difference, but if you was cutting a really filigree panel or a butterfly or an animal and you wanted to reverse it, that's the tip to squidge out the cut line, because when a die cuts, of course, it gives it a beveled edge, but that will remove the beveled edge, if that helps. So yes, absolutely fine to reverse stamp if you want to. And actually a really cool idea. So thank you for suggesting that, because that's really nice to see. Tammy says Henry is stealing the show. Henry is. We love him. Is there a jelly plate demo somewhere, Fran asks. Not by me. I've never really played with a jelly plate, to be honest. Being honest with you, I never have. I know about them. I've never really played with them. But if you give it a Google, I'm sure you'll find loads of jelly plate ones, especially by the Ranger team. I'm sure there'll be loads on YouTube by like Diana Wakely and people like that. I know that Diana does her own, doesn't she? So I'm pretty sure you'll find loads of inspiration with those if you have a little dig around on YouTube. We love YouTube, don't we? It's like endless inspiration. So yeah, have a little Google, but there's loads you can do with jelly plate. Very clever tools. So onto our card. Let's just finish this one off, because if not, we're not going to have anything to give away to our lovely people. So on to our next levels. We're going to just start building this up. Now, of course, we have used our alcohol markers to match in with the colours of what we've coloured in Freddie with, to just go around the edges to make it all coordinate. We're then going to bring in our decal edge squares, and we've used the stitch lines to go around this square before we've embossed it with the same stencil. And we're going to build up. We're going to go a bit heavy with this one. We're going to go texture on texture. So we're going to add down our square, and then we're going to bring in the same deckled edge, but in a circle with a stitch line. And we've embossed this one as well. And we're going to place that one on top of the other. Now, I might have, or should have possibly, broke that up a little, maybe another plain edge in a matching colour. Maybe bring forward this green that we've got in the background, so a plain edge circle would have looked nice. But I do quite like this, so we're going to stick with it and we'll carry on running through it. But you could, if you wanted to put a little level between them, that could have looked quite nice as well. So then should we die cut some flowers? I love these flowers. These are such fun flowers. So we'll bring in some of these and we'll do a bit of cutting with them. So we're going to add on our floral plate, and we're going to stick to all white. So we're also going to bring in our foliage, and we're going to bring them together so we're getting the most value out of our cardstock. And we're going to add on a piece of our Polar White Elite card. Now our card is 300 GSM, and that's great because not only will it cut perfectly, it will also deboss to give us really nice prominent detail as well. Oh, Sheila says, I've got 2 sets of twins in my family, which is why I need to know. Oh, see, Sheila, that's great. A light pad would be a good one to use. Absolutely, Rose. That would be a great way to see through if you want to, just so you can see that stamped image. That's a great idea. Oh, Rose, Jamie, is the John Next Door Mixed Media gel plate set you did a demo once the same as a jelly plate? Do you know they're not actually? No, which is a great question. The mixed media plates, I think you can do reverse stamping with them actually as well, thinking about it. So in that sense they are. And I'm going to go out on a bit of a limb here. You've kind of got the wrong person to ask too many questions about these. But a jelly plate is more, in my understanding, one that you use with like paints, and you layer down paints and you put stencils on and you take prints off of them. And I know, like, I was looking at Steph Appler the other day, and he was saying how he don't clean his jelly plate, so you end up with loads of texture and definition between the different levels of the paints, and that looks really, really cool. With John's mixed media plates, they're more about, and I think he describes them as this, if I'm right, and I might be wrong, so apologies, John, if I'm going to get this terribly wrong, but they're more like a stamp without an image on them. So more like just look like the reverse of a stamp. It's more like that material. So you don't use paints over them, but you can use inks over them. You can stencil over them. You can stamp on them and then take a print from them. But it's more like taking a print off of those. So in my head, it's more that you use these with inks, not paints. And that tends to be where I think the line is a little bit between what a traditional jelly plate is and what a mixed media plate is, if that helps. I'm loving all the questions tonight. It's lovely to be able to sort of natter with you and sort of spark with you and see what we can come up with. So thank you all for joining us, genuinely. It's lovely to sort of think outside the box and sort of have all of these different sort of points. So genuinely, thank you for joining us. So we're just going to take out some of these flowers. So of course there's little release holes on the reverse here to make this really easy. I'm going to be honest with you. If I wasn't worried about the noise coming through your speakers, I'd be tapping my dies. I'm much more of a die tapper than a pokey outer. But the holes are there if you want to poke them out, or if you're doing a live and you don't want it to sound like a brass band's in the room. So with our flowers, we're going to go for this main focal flower. So I'm going to give that a little lift up, so hopefully you can see the debossing in the centre of that, because it really fills in that void and gives you a really pretty centre. And this one you can shape it in loads of different ways, but my favourite is just sort of rolling around the edges, giving those a little push into the centre. And then you can layer a couple of them together. For the other flowers that are in here, this one, my favourite way to shape this is really simply, I just pinch round each of the petals and then layer two together, and that looks really, really pretty. But again, you can shape that round your scissors, not scissors, paintbrushes is the word I'm looking for. If you want to give it a bit of a curve, just using something like a paintbrush, giving it a bit of a roll around there. Instead of a V, you end up with more of a U, and that looks really nicely. Or you could use your tweezers and sort of crimple the edges of this one as well, and that looks really nice. If you kind of work along the deboss lines and give it a bit of a crinkle. But this is what I wanted to do, was bring you a flower set that instead of just making one flower, actually gave you the ability to make lots of different flowers, and then gave you a few bits of foliage to really build those up in different ways as well. So we'll take those off to one side for a second and we'll bring this bit back in. So already I've gone ahead with some of the foliage that comes with this set, and I've just put them together between a couple of pieces of 1mm foam tape. And before we put that in place, we're going to find Freddie, because I don't want to make the card and not leave enough room for Freddie. Now, I think in all of my yabbering, I've lost Freddie. I do. You can chuckle over there. I think I've lost Freddie.
Search party.
I think I've lost him. Freddie's done a runner. I've found Freddie. Do not fear. Call off the search party. Freddie is back. So we'll take a bit of tape off of the reverse there, and we'll bring Freddie in, and we're going to stand him in the middle of the circle. And then we can take the back off of our taped foliage, and we're going to stand this going just across Freddie, so that that goes slightly above and to the side there. And then we're going to take the top part off, and we're going to take off the foam tape off of there, and we're going to add on our first flower, and then we're going to bring in our next one. I'll loose cut a hole in a magnetic sheet. I think we've all done that a million times, haven't we? Don't panic, you're not alone. I think we should do a Facebook Live confession night, shouldn't we? And see how many people want to own up to doing that, because I don't think there's many crafters who haven't at some point forgot and put the die up the wrong way and ended up cutting into the mat. It's kind of just one of them things, isn't it? Now, I'm sure you have already, but you can always put a bit of masking tape on the reverse of your mat and hold it back together. That usually works for quite a while. A bit of a plaster, really, bit of a patch-up job, but that can work quite nicely to give you a few more moments of life from your mat, especially if you're waiting for another one to arrive or waiting to pop out to the shops and get one. So we just add a bit of ribbon onto this one, and I just wanted to tie in really the lilac that's running through the layers and the lilac that I've used in the flowers. We're just going to trim off our bow. And there, oh, I know what I forgot to do. I forgot to put his lollipop in his hand. So his lollipop, this is a fun one. The lollipop for this lovely Freddie creation is actually coming to you from the light that you're going to find within Henry's set. So let's have a little stamp of that so you can see what I'm on about. So in with Henry, you will receive a little light to go on the top of your traffic cones. So, and I wanted something different for Freddie to be holding on to. He's had enough time fishing and he needed something fun and a bit of relaxation. So instead I wanted him to hold on to a lollipop. So you've got a matching die to go with this. Why are you looking at me like I've lost the plot again? Honestly,
I think we're going to start worrying about you.
well, Freddie needs
You
some
little-
treats. Everybody needs a treat in life, and Freddie needs a lollipop. You can't begrudge Freddie a lollipop.
Absolutely.
So you have got a dye to match up and go with the little light if you prefer. But actually, I wanted it to have a really nice, clean edge to it. And I also wanted the lollipop to have more of a stand to it. So I'm going to trim down from the top. And I'm not doing this brilliantly, being honest with you, but you're going to get the idea. And then we're going to cut around the top there, just so you can see what I mean. And that is where Freddie's lollipop has come from. So out of a hazard light, we have a lollipop. Now, of course, when you're adding a bit of colour to this, that's when you can possibly convince the world it's more of a lollipop than a hazard light. But it's nice to think outside the box and show you that you've got these different components that can come in for different things. Now, I cut Freddie's hands slightly just so I can poke that slightly under the edge, which I will be honest, I was meant to do before we stuck him down, but it's not the end of the world. So we'll lift his hand up and we're just going to post under that lollipop. So it now looks like he's holding on to his lollipop. What are you chuckling at over there on hostage cam?
Sandra just says you and Peter are so funny.
Honestly, on hostage cam, where's he
Hostage
gone?
cam?
Hostage cam.
Put me on hostage
All I have
cam.
over there is him just giving me side eye.
I don't know what he means.
Side eye and laughing at me when I build these poor little characters and give them little life. Dawn reckons you sound like her husband.
Oh.
So obviously, I don't think she meant it in that way. I don't think she was laying claim.
Hostage.
I think she meant more that he too gives questions to what's going on. So yeah, I'm with you. Let's have a little look at Tammy. I've done it a few times and now have the pretty magnets for my fridge photos. Exactly. There is always a bonus to these things, isn't it? Search party for Freddie. First chuckle today. Thank you. You have to find him, don't you? Sandra reckons you're funny. We are funny in many ways. Pete, do you do crafting? Pete is being roped in more and more to our crafty world as the days go by. And he has, there's nothing Pete doesn't know how to do.
I think I've only ever made one card though, didn't
Probably,
I?
but I've got you doing a lot of colouring and
Bloody
different bits in between stages, haven't I?
Yeah, I like colouring.
To be fair, one of the things that Pete struggles with is time. I've probably bored you all with this previously, but in Pete's little world, he owns a restaurant, 3 sweet shops, a part of a computer shop, and this world as well, don't you? So there's not many hours in a day that Pete actually gets to stop. Being honest with you, genuinely, it's usually in front of the telly at 10 o'clock at night when he's asleep to whatever drivel I've got on at the moment. I am keeping him awake at the moment. We're watching something called Shining Veil, and that's a bit scary, and that is keeping his attention. So I have had him colouring in some characters and bits that you'll see soon. Not characters, actually, that's probably the wrong word. Just colouring in some bits you'll get to see soon.
I'm looking forward to something that's coming up soon to colour that in, but we can't. You've got that blank look.
I think you're. Is it what we see today?
Maybe.
Okay. Yeah.
I'm looking forward to colouring them.
We are planning them.
Oh.
That's a bit of a word. Okay, stop now. Stop.
Move on. Back to your demo.
So how are we doing? Should we do another one?
They want to see demos.
I feel like we've been here forever and probably bored you all to sleep, but we've only made one card, and I think we should make at least a second, don't you, before we leave you in peace. So shall we do another demo? If I can find it. Let's have a little look. What have I got hidden in my drawer this evening?
Is Deirdre lurking?
Deirdre's not lurking. I didn't plan on Deirdre this evening. I don't know what's happened to me tonight. I'm covered in ink. The desk is covered in ink, so I'm going to have to stop and clean my desk for a second. I apologise. I try not to get too messy or have to stop, but I'm just putting black ink everywhere, and I don't want to send out the cards with black smudges all over them. So let me just get rid of the ink.
I think you've been fingerprinting down the police station or something.
Fingerprinting down the police station?
I don't think they do that anymore, do they?
I don't know. I'm quite happy to say it's a long time since I don't think I've ever been
in a police station,
actually.
I think there was a confession there, guys.
There's no confession.
I think Jamie's just confessed to being at the police station. He's going a very funny colour.
Stop it, you're in trouble. I think we did it at school, didn't we? I say that like you were there.
We had a police car in the playground where they come and let you play with the buttons. But
Did they? Oh, I don't
Yeah,
think we
that
was
was at middle
trusted to do
school.
that. I think in our
Yeah.
school they'd probably think we would have
Gonna
stopped
nick
it. So no, I don't remember that about them. But I do think maybe it was just their way of fingerprinting us, so they knew what we'd done in the future. But yeah, I do think we did fingerprints at school at some point. Do you know, I used to hate that. Do you know, it's funny what sticks in your mind, isn't it? We did have a policeman coming at one stage when I was probably about 8, maybe earlier than that, 7 or 8. And somebody kept in the class. Somebody kept stealing food out of the other kids' lunch boxes. I'll tell you another story about that in a minute. Actually, about lunch boxes. That's funny.
You're laughing. You
Yeah,
can't
because it makes me
laugh.
laugh. No, not about the first story.
Oh,
Maybe think of the second story. I'll tell you the second story in a second. But they had this policeman coming about these stolen crisps. I think it was mostly crisps and food going out of this poor child's lunchbox. And I nearly confessed. He was so convincing. He was like, he stood up in the class and he was like, all of the kids were sat there and he was like, somebody stealing out of, I can't remember the child's name, but Ben's lunchbox, whatever. And I nearly confessed. I was so scared. It had nothing to do with me. I hadn't done it, obviously. But it was just that fear of like, so yeah, that was scary. That up here, that's there. And then the other story, which I was chuckling about, I'm a really strange eater. Sorry, you don't want to know all of this. I'm a really strange eater, and I always have been all of my life. I've been a very, very strange eater. And again, probably younger than that. I was probably about 5 at this stage. I always used to have cream crackers with jam and cheese on for lunch. And we used to put them in a lunchbox and then I would walk to school. And we went through this stage that every day I'd go to my lunch to eat these Jacob's crackers with jam and cheese on it. And they'd been smashed up. And they were like in pieces. And my parents got involved with the school and it was a whole thing. Again, the class was asked who's smashing Jamie's lunch up. And we weren't being bullied by anybody at that point. So it was very bizarre.
Who's smashing Jamie's crackers up?
But every day, and it was a whole thing in the school, a whole thing of like, what's happening to Jamie's crackers? And this is why I laugh, because it took us a while to realise at the time we lived in a place called Houston.
Welcome to Jamie's craft along.
Yeah, sorry. It's the last thing you need. This is what happens. We lived at the top of a hill in Houston. And in the mornings, I used to run down the hill. And when I run down the hill, my water bottle in my lunchbox used to smash up the crackers.
How have I not heard this story?
There was nobody smashed up. It was me. All along. So in the end, I had to have a little divider. A little wooden divider for my lunchbox so I could still run down the hill and not smash up the crackers. Sorry. Yeah, that was a whole thing. So, okay, enough confessions from my school childhood. I think we should get on with some crafting, shouldn't we, before they all leave us? And I think we're absolutely insane.
The viewers have gone down to about 1 now.
Yeah, well, I
confess
about my smashed up crackers. So yeah, it was a whole to do. There was so much relief in the school when it turned out it was me.
What, and you confessed the water bottle?
Yeah, we had to. We had to tell them because it was like proper. Thought the world was out to get me, and it was all me. Okay, so let's do something different. You've probably seen me do this before. So we're going to get back online. We're going to get back to where we should be. We're going to bring in a stencil, and I've picked the cat stencil, but it's actually the dog we're aiming for. This is the card that we're going to make. And we're going to make a little gatefold card, actually. And we're going to bring in Henry. Again, it really is Henry's night, isn't it? But we're going to bring in Henry. And we're going to make our background. So this time, and this is a bit like doing your reverse stamping, we're going to letterpress from our stencil. So we're going to bring in some oxide ink because, again, we know this is going to stay wet for a while. And we're going to cover over the top of the stencil. Now, if you wanted to, you could, of course, blend this ink through the stencil so that the panel underneath is also usable. But I don't need it, so we're going to be quick. And we're just working on a piece of copy paper. And we're just going to make sure that we've covered all of the areas of the stencil so that when we come to take a print from it, we've got the perfect purple image. Now I've gone for the purple. This is Seedless Preserves, just so you can see it a bit clearer. When I did the one on the card, I used tea dye, but that's quite faint and quite light, and I think it'll be nicer if you can see it bolder. Our metallic inks do this really well as well, so if you've got hold of those already and you want a more metallic-y finish to your project, then they're going to work really well. But we're just going to do this quickly through our purple ink. And we're going to go back to our same combo of plates again. So we're going to bring in our base plate. We're going to add on our stencil. We're going to put a piece of card over the top of this. We're going to add our rubber mat over the top of that one. And this is kind of a bit of both. We want to transfer the ink like we did when we did our reverse stamping, but we also want to emboss the project too. So we'll take our copy of paper out of the way and we'll send that through. Oh. Yeah, Dawn says, I think that the next Cuddly clan character should have a lunchbox.
We could have a Jamie the Crafter stamp.
Oh, I don't think the world needs a Jamie the Crafter one. I don't think that's needed. Okay, so there is our print taken off of our stencil. So isn't that just cool? I love this. And I also like the way that you end up with that sort of mottled background. Of course, we could have done it in different ways. We could have done it with different products. But actually that mottled sort of borderline swirly marble background, I think is really lovely. And if you haven't heard me do or seen me do this before, you can also stamp over the top of the stencil. So had we have done our ink first and then brought in something like our script stencil, I think it's downstairs. Oh, that would have been nice. If we'd brought in, yeah, our script stencil would work. You could stamp that over the top, but don't forget your wording's going to reverse. Or you could have used your line stencil and got over the top. Sorry, did I say stencil? Thanks, Pete.
It's the Lemsips.
Stop saying that.
Other drinking brands are available.
But yeah, stamp this over the top and then that would letterpress off of this and onto your image as well and would give you a slightly different look, which could be really nice too. So yeah, think about adding more to it as well, not only just stopping with what I've done. It's the beginning to a lot of layers. And just like before, you might choose to go over the top and add some colouring in, and you could of course, just like we did before, leave your stencil in place and actually colour over the top of the stencil instead of going direct. So it's a bit more crisp, I suppose is the word. But actually that looks really nice, doesn't it? Doesn't that look cool? I really like that. I'm going to save that. I might do something with that. I'm going to do something with that. It's going to come in handy. I like that one. So onto our card. Now we've done our background bit, let's start off with our actual card. So card size, by the way, I never gave you a card size for the last one, did I? So the card size is 7 inches by 6 3/4. So I've folded in the two sides at 3.5, so they meet in the middle. We're going to open this up and we're going to put a panel into the centre. Yes, Alison, to letterpress in the Pro Cut machine, it's the 3 and the 5mm plate with your rubber mat for the Pro Cut machine. That will vary depending on which machines you're all working with. So have a little look in your instructions. But for the Kit and Caboodle Pro Cut, the 3 and the 5 with your mat is the combo that you're going to need. So on my one, I did this, as I said, with the dog bones, and I did it with tea dye ink. So it's a lot more subtle, which is why we did the purple, so you could see it easier on your screens. But we're going to bring this in and we're going to add these onto both sides of our gatefold card. So on with our first one and then on with this one over here. Oh. So lovely laughing out loud. Thank you so much. My 3 teenagers have come downstairs and asking, am I okay? Oh, that's nice to hear, Sheila. Oh, I'm glad you're having a good laugh. It's what it's about, isn't it? It's nice to craft for friends and have a natter, have a bit of a chit chat and see what's going on in the world. So on the inside of the card, we're going to bring in our decal edge circles, our plain edge circles, and our stitched ones, which of course come with the decal edges. We're just going to add this down into the centre, just so you've got that sentiment panel or insert panel to work with.
Alison's pleased. She's seen the glue.
Oh, she's seen the glue. The glue's had a little flash this evening, Alison. Yeah. That's what it's about, isn't it? Alison, our lovely glue lady.
So a glue ambassador.
A glue ambassador. Oh, I like that. Reminds me of Ferrero Rocher's.
We could send her out like the Avon lady.
What, going door to door?
With a case of glue.
Door to door with glue?
Probably not good, actually, is it?
No, it's possibly not a good idea. Alison might be up for this.
What do we think, Alison? Are you up for this?
Are we up for this, Alison? See, I don't know. You'll get anybody working, won't you?
Oh, I will.
Anybody at all. So to match in with the inside of the card, we've used the sizes next step down as such, so that we've got the circle of the plain, the decal and the stitch, just so we've got that sort of reveal in the middle that matches in with a panel on the outside. We're then going to go back to Henry. It is certainly Henry's night, so let's see if we can find a stamped Henry. So I've got one here that I've already done, and this is just really just trying to show you a bit of an idea. Obviously he comes in his high-vis vest, but very quickly we can take this and we can transform this vest into a whole manner of different things. Now I quite like being a bit freehand with this, so I'm just going to add in some hearts going down the panels. We're going to add in some hearts going across the middle here of the vest, because we're going to turn Henry into a hippie.
Of course you are.
Of course we are. Henry's going for a little Woodstock moment. So we're going to add in some little piping going around that detailing on his vest. And you can do as much with little as this as you want to. You can get quite carried away, can't you, really, with what you want to do. And it's like adding a little bow tie. I think he looks so cute if you had a little bow tie, which basically is just like a quality street in the middle there. But we might add a little shirt going under that, maybe, a couple of little points to it, add in a little collar, sort of going to go around under his neck. And then on here, maybe we'll add in, let's go for some vertical or diagonal stripes, actually. And this doesn't have to be perfect. It's just an idea. It's just a style that we're trying to create, really. And we'll bring in the stripes or the sort of lines going that way as well. What are you chuckling at over there? What are you up to?
Sheila reckons you always mentioned in sweets. Are you hinting to me to bring home some cream eggs? Well, I have to stock take the cream eggs whenever we go to the shop to make sure there's none missing.
As you walk
Especially
in the
white
door,
ones.
as you walk in the door of Pete's shop, here's got white cream eggs.
Oh, we've got the caramel ones in. A lot of people ask the caramel ones.
I'm not keen on the caramel. It's all about the cream, the white cream eggs at the moment. But they are a bit of a weakness. They are genuinely a bit of a problem for me, them ones. So, okay. So we have then taken our lovely Henry and we've coloured him in. So we've added his little details and we've added some colour to it. And we've coloured in the bottom of his spanner so it matches in with his fur, because we're going to cut the top of his spanner off because we're going to have him holding on to some flowers. Now, because I don't know exactly how the flowers are going to sit over the top of his hand, if we colour him in so that the spanner matches the fur, there's less chance anybody in the world is going to spot that he was actually holding on to something other than the flower that we're going to put in his hand. So it's just kind of just disguising what we're doing with him. So we're going to give him a bit of a shape. I'm just using the end of a bone folder here, and we're going to just roll round there to give him a bit of definition. And we're going to bring in some foam tape so that we can build him up. Now let's have a little look. Where's our foam tape? So we're going to use our 2mm foam tape, sorry. And we're going to put a piece of that underneath him there. And we're going to trim it off. We're going to double stack that. Could have cut a bit bigger there, couldn't I? I'm going to add in another bit. Just so, oh, we'll have to take the lid off. That'd help, wouldn't it? We'll add in another bit there so that we've got a bit more prominence to our lovely Henry. And we're going to then add him onto our card, just so it looks like he's standing on the edge. And then we can start bringing in some flowers. So we'll start off with the one in his hand. So we're going to use the lovely little cute flower. And you get a couple of these in with your flower die. And then we're going to take the top of the branch. So we're using this branch here. And we're just going to snip that so we can then add on that flower onto the top of it. And then we're going to add some glue to the reverse of this and put that into Henry's hand, so that it looks like he's holding onto a little flower. Maybe he's off on a date.
It is Valentine's.
It is Valentine's very soon, isn't it? So maybe Henry's off on the pool.
He's on the hunt for Deirdre.
On the hunt. On the hunt for Deirdre.
Not sure how that would work, but...
We've got a dog holding a flower in a waistcoat. We don't need to ask too many questions, do we? But this is what it's about, isn't it? It's building up the little story. You could do that though, couldn't you? You could have Henry on the outside holding onto the flowers, and you could reverse stamp Henrietta on the inside holding a box of chocolates in like a little heart box, and it could say Happy Valentine's.
Will you marry me or something?
Oh, I don't know if I want to be proposed to by a card. Needs to be a bit more fireworks than that. It could be. dunno.
Like you haven't been.
Well, I have been, yeah. But it weren't by a card, was it? You
Oh,
did
no.
better than a card.
That was kind of fireworks.
Yeah,
At
it was
New Year's
fireworks.
Eve.
It was New Year's Eve. But I will point out to anybody who's listening to our waffle, can you see what's missing from this engagement?
Oh, it get in the way of your craft. And
Would it? Is that why I don't need the jewellery to match the title?
Absolutely.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. This is an ongoing complaint, in case anyone's wondering. Might get them all to sign a little petition
When's the wedding?
about
Though?
the neglect. I can't marry you if I haven't even got the first ring, can I? So anyway, no domestics going on today, Peter. So this is our second card created with our dear Henry, adding in the flowers, sticking with the circles, and then of course having those sort of printed letterpress dog bones in the background. And I think because of time, because I seem to have waffled for absolutely hours, we're going to call it a day with those two demos. So before we say goodbye, if anyone's got any questions, let us know in the comments. And if Pete hasn't already, please don't forget to pick our winner so that we can send these out to somebody, because that's what it's all about, is sharing the creations. So Fran says 14th is next week. I'm going to agree with that, Fran. Is 14th next week? Oh, 14th is in Valentine's Day. Oh, good. I don't know why. I was thinking Fran meant the date for the next one of these. And that's the 10th, isn't it? Yeah, so it's the 3rd. So it'll be the 10th for our next Monday night natter. Now, I'm going to apologise before I tell you this.
Oh no, what?
You know. Why are you? Why are you worried? Next week, we will be introducing you to another brand new collection. I know they're coming thick and fast. I apologise in advance. But next week, we will tease you with our sneaky peek for the collection that will launch on Highlight Crafts, actually on the 13th and the 14th. So we'll be there for Valentine's Day. But it's a very lovely collection. And I'm not going to tell you too much because I always tell you loads and loads and loads. But I will tell you that it's a collection that matches or works with, coordinates, something along them lines, with a collection we've already done. So it's an addition, something that's going to match in and open up a new world for you. So if you want to know more, join us next Monday when we have a little look at that. Samantha, we need a wedding. Get to the jewellers, Pete. I know. How many years has it been since we got engaged? 5 years? 6 years? Oh, you should see the vague look. Should we go to hostage cam?
No, not hostage cam.
Look at this. That was, oh, don't smile now after the vague look of fear.
13 years that we've been together, isn't it?
13 years this year that we've been together. What year did we get engaged?
I reckon it's about 10 years.
No, it isn't. No, you lingered for years before you asked me.
I don't...
Years.
Hostage cam needs to move off.
I was like 2 foot out the door by the point I was actually asked.
Only 2.
Only 2 foot and a hand out the door.
Should we pick a winner?
That'd be best.
We're now down to 2 viewers.
Oh, Pippa enhances a previous collection. Absolutely, it does. Oh, I don't know. People like EastEnders. They like a good row. Could do that. Get out of my room. No. We've gone past the stage. Let's let these poor people
too many
go. Pick a winner.
So, congratulations go to our lovely Kim Deere for Deirdre the Drunk.
Deirdre the Drunk, is that what won it? Okay.
Yeah.
So
well done, Kim.
If you could please message your address to us, and if you would like your cards signed, we will get them sent out to you in the next couple of days. So pop over your address for us when you're ready, and if you'd like them signed or not in a private message to the page, and we will make that magic happen for you and get them popped out in the post. Now, I know we've gone off on lots of different tangents tonight, and there's been a lot of random waffle, and I do sincerely apologise. But I will just remind you before we go that, of course, the Cuddly Clan collection is now available from the stockists. It launched today. Sorry, stockists. We've gone very random tonight, haven't we? Not a very polished sort of evening with us today. But the new stencils, the new dies, the new stamps and dies, all of this little lot that we went through at the beginning of the live is now available from the stockists. And stockists that have already purchased and announced that this collection is now live with them include Craft Bliss, Affordable Crafting, Into Craft, The Art of Craft, Giles Craft, Craft Mania, and then internationally, Ecstasy Crafts will be receiving their parcel pretty much any day, I should imagine, won't they? And then they will feed this collection out to the Canadian and American stockists, so keep an eye out for more news from those. And then, of course, talking of international, our lovely picture stamps in New Zealand, lovely Robin, who's been with us this evening, has already got these en route. They're just going to be a couple of, well, I don't know, days. Shouldn't be long till they're actually with Robin.
Couple of
so
days,
keep an eye on Robin's Facebook page for the announcement of them arriving in stock with her. But all of our stockists have got on board with this collection that I mentioned and now have it available if you're looking to add to your crafty stash and add these ones in. This week, the next time we're back is next Monday, isn't it? Which will be the 10th of February, and we'll have another Monday Night Natter at 7 p.m. and we'll introduce you to our new goodies, which will be on Highlight Crafts on the 13th and 14th of February. So it'll be really fun to have you back with us then. Thank you all for joining us this evening. I hope you've enjoyed it. It's been a great laugh for us, and hopefully it has been for you guys too. And with that, I think we can leave you in peace and say we'll see you next week.
Yep, see you all guys next week. Thank you.
Night from Hostage Cam.
Take care.
He is there somewhere. He's not looking, but he's with us. Good night from
pre-warning. Good night. Take care.
Good night from me all. Thank you for joining us, and we'll see you next week. Oh dear, I've hit the wrong button and I've just lost you completely. I never know how to get out of here. Good night all. Bye for now.